You got a loud clicker, man.
Oh, sorry.
Clicker of doom. Reminds me of somebody I used to do the Game Source podcast with. It was Bryce Martinez. Yeah, you could always hear in the background. Click, 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 click. On this week's episode, we're talking the questionable future of Tomb Raider. Board games are back. Board games are back in a big way. And is the Battle Royale genre finally hitting some bumps in the road? All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate you being part of the broadcast and listening to all of our shows. Well, it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. He is the luchador of Humanica Media. You gotta check out everything going on with his awesome experience known as Humanica Media on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and also his great show, Topicocalypse, on Podbean. It's my good friend. Like I said, luchador for Lucha Libre. It's Josh Peterson. How you doing, man?
Well, sometimes grown men, we like to wear stretchy pants. It's for fun.
But you got to hide your face with a mask, my friend, because that in Lucha Libre culture, that is an honor that's worth doing.
The glasses don't. It's this. I like to think that the glasses are like a Clark Kent situation. And I just put on the glasses, tuck my hair to the side, and you don't even know who I am anymore. But hold on, I do this. Tuck the hair in front of my eyes, like, oh, hey, there's Josh. And then I put the glasses on. And then you're like, whoa, hey, where'd he go? What's going on here?
I think we'll name you El Misterioso because it's just
good.
So mysterious. There you go.
Accept.
There you go. Well, it's going to be a great episode we have for everyone out there today. We've got Rob McCallum standing by in the middle of the Cosmic Crossfire. We also have Sam Webb all the way over from the UK. He is going to be talking about all the great games that are at his great that are at his great place of work, Modiphius Entertainment, one of the leaders in tabletop RPGs. He is the head of RPG development there, and he and I are going to be talking about all the great things that you can find at Modiphius Entertainment, including games based off the Fallout license, Star Trek license, Kung Fu Panda on the way as well, and so much more. We're going to be talking about his lineup of games coming to you this fall, what they have out already, and what he would like to see if he were able to go ahead and have one license to choose from. And I picked my own as well. So we have that coming up. Also as well, we've got so much to talk to you when it comes to about Bethesda and so much more. But first, Josh, I know we've talked a lot about games, and we're going to have a fall gaming preview coming up in the next few weeks sometime about focusing in on all the games that are coming out this fall. But everybody seems to know already about some of the big players like Ultimate Smash Brothers, Call of Duty Black Ops 3, of course, Red Dead Redemption 2, and including the exclusive to the PlayStation 4, the new Spider-Man game coming around the corner. The one game that I think gets overlooked a lot and that a lot of people don't realize it's coming out next month is Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This is the third in the line of rebooted series for Tomb Raider. And it comes, I guess, not hot off the heels, but it comes in the same calendar year as the failed box office try for the latest reboot of Tomb Raider, the movie. So I ask you, my friend, I wanted to actually broach the subject to you because this was a series that was rebooted to much great acclaim on both its first and second tries, but the third try that's coming up, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, seems to be flying under the radar for the most part. Is that intentional? or does it look like Shadow of the Tomb Raider is not going to be the big hit that I know a lot of people were hoping for?
I don't know, man. Like honestly, I'm looking forward to it. There's some.
Well, we barely mentioned it ourselves on this show, and I know you probably haven't mentioned too much in the Super BS Games Cast or any of the other the other podcasts that are out there as well.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't popped up, but and I think that's due kind of to poor marketing, and they kind of announced it at a weird time. Remember, they put that first trailer out 3 weeks before E3. So we got that. Then going into E3, we got some gameplay footage, but it was like, okay, it wasn't really a surprise announcement, so they didn't get to build that hype of being like, oh my gosh, there's a new Tomb Raider coming out. And then they announced that it wasn't Crystal Dynamics who was working on the game; it was Eidos Montreal was working on the game. So it's not, the first two Tomb Raiders I really loved, and I'm really looking forward to Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but it has doesn't have the company that made the first two behind it, though they're helping produce it. They're not the ones developing it. And so I think that's leading to some not weariness, but what's the word I'm looking for? They're cautiously optimistic about this game coming out. And the story does look good, and it's the ending of a trilogy, but I think the big fear is here that people are we're going to get more of the same. But from early reviews and early looks at the game, it looks beautiful. It looks the story looks good. So I don't really know what the fear is. I'd have to get my hands on it to really dive in depth with it. But the first two games, there was a lot of layers to them, and I love them because you could kind of, as you're playing through, even after you finish the game, but when you're going into these different areas, there are plenty of extra things to fill your time with. So like, did you play any of them?
I have, and especially the rebooted first one was truly a huge step up for the Tomb Raider franchise, and you could lay a lot of praise for that one as far as rebooting and rekindling the franchise as a whole, because that first reboot, Tomb Raider, if somebody out there has not played it yet, that's still, to me, one of the best games of the last decade.
Right. And what's cool about it is, hopefully I can say this on the show, is they moved Tomb Raider out of the area of Lara Croft just being guns and breast and into an area where Lara Croft actually had depth to her character. You cared about what was happening to her. They took the character that everyone knew and loved, and they actually developed her into something that you could, now I don't want to say relate to, because obviously we're not all raiding tombs and jumping across broken airplanes and stuff, but a character that feels human to you, that feels like you want her to succeed. You have a lot, you feel okay investing time into this character. And they carried that on into Rise of the Tomb Raider, because it honestly, like with each game, it just felt like she was having a really bad day. So by the time the game ended, you're like, please just let something good happen to her. And then that's what made that feeling so satisfying when you finally ended the game. And I'm looking forward to that feeling again as you're finally ending this trilogy. But the question is, where do they go after this? So there's really a lot on the shoulders of Eidos Montreal to really pull this game off, not just in gameplay, but story-wise, because we've been following this game for, I want to say, the past 5 years now, or this version of Lara Croft for the past 5 years, and we're all waiting for something. We want something we need some kind of resolution. Even if they carry this character on into future games, we need some kind of resolution. So there's a lot on the shoulders of Eidos Montreal, but I'm hoping that they pull it off. And like, just judging from the trailers and the gameplay, I haven't seen anything that disappoints me. I love the idea of the mechanics where like you can hide in the mud and you can hide behind bushes and you can take people out like that. But I don't want that to be something that's so primary, like it's such a primary part of the game that I can't just play it how I normally play. Duck behind a log, pop up, shoot somebody, duck back down, drag their body into the thing, and then keep going on your way. I don't want to have to do all these sneaky ways of killing, because I feel like that just complicates things. And I don't know if I'm the only one, but you know.
No, you're probably not the only one. In fact, for me, going off the first game, which I found to be a tremendous value and a tremendous game, almost to the level of what I have experienced with the Uncharted series. And you could see a lot of the influence of the Uncharted series within the context of both of those games, both of those iterations in the series so far. And I'm sure a lot of it as well will still be in Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now, a lot of people say otherwise, vice versa. There's a lot of influence of Tomb Raider in the early Uncharted games. That I see as well. But either which way you want to slice it, there is a really, really there has been a really increased emphasis and awareness on storytelling, on visual look, and I think a lot of that shines through with the first two iterations in the Tomb Raider series. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, like I said, it looks great. The gameplay, I'm sure, is probably even better than before. It's all a matter of the story. Is it going to be still compelling? Do we still care about Lara's quest? Do we still care about what she's doing and the individuals that she's facing off against? Are we still invested in her character like we were in the first two times around? I mean, that's something that Naughty Dog has done continuously, time and time and time again, through 4 iterations of Uncharted, and also and also a major DLC, is that they have invested so much storytelling and narrative, quality narrative, into their characters. Eidos Montreal has followed suit with their own major investment and banking on Lara Croft's story, and it has so far paid off in spades by creating a great series and a great rebooted 2 iterations so far. Do I see that same continued success? I do, but I'm hoping for, like we said, the same kind of results we've gotten the first 2 times around. But there is a problem, I think, when it comes to the way it's being marketed, because, like I said, not much has been said, not much has been talked about. Only this week are we starting to get glimpses. Only this week are we starting to get videos that really go into more detail, into more depth about the story, about Lara's quest herself, her character, about what's going on, her motivations. Only now are we really getting invested into Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but by then it could be too little, too late.
Yeah, they didn't exactly plan their release, the release of materials very well. You know, like we discussed earlier, they did release that little teaser trailer 3 weeks before E3, and then at E3 we got to see some gameplay. And they've just been sporadically like sprinkling stuff out as the days have gone on. But what would have really, packed a punch is if they would have waited, had that be part of like the Sony Sony conference or Xbox conference or something like that, instead of just being like, because a lot of people I think were expecting some kind of announcement at E3, and they kind of ruined it. They're like, oh, okay, so we all knew it was coming out, but we didn't. It didn't really have the thrill of that punch, where it's like you see something like, oh, that's so cool. Because during these press conferences, people get stoked about things, even if they're things they already knew came out. If it's something that has not been released or announced, and that might be the fault of whoever leaked the IP purchase of Shadow of the Tomb Raider or whatever. But it still packs a punch to be able to announce something at a press conference. So the weird thing is too, I wanted to bring this up, that the critics of the game, it's weird because everyone's like, oh, I really love the first 2, but it almost sounds like, even like you hear like IGN, Giant Bomb, Kind of Funny, like all these guys, it almost sounds like they want this 3rd iteration of the game to fail. And that's weird to me, because they all praise the first 2 games so much, but it's like, listening to their comments and like what they're expecting, like, oh, well, I don't think this game's going to be that good. It's almost like they want it to fail instead of actually like, giving it the chance to succeed in the fashion that it does. Because, IGN, all these guys, they're big influencers, and, if they hold that kind of sway over a video game in the same way that Rotten Tomato holds sway over movies. And it's it makes me sad that they would say something like that without actually playing it and make people like weary of it already coming out of the gate.
Well, that's again up to Square Enix. I also have an issue with when they're releasing it. And normally September would be a great time to release the game and have it stand out. But when you have around that same time frame, you've got games like Spider-Man, like I said, the exclusive to PlayStation 4. And guess what? Sony's going to be pushing hard over the next few weeks. They're going to be pushing that game really big. They're going to be pushing that game a lot. Also, NBA 2K19, that comes out also on the 7th, a week before Shadow of the Tomb Raider comes out. Then you've got NHL 19 also on that date. You've got FIFA 19 coming out 2 weeks later. You've got those major titles that are going to be released right around that time frame. So it really takes away from any type of success that it may have. Plus, Destiny 2 Forsaken will also be coming around that time. And then next month, after that, in October, you've got games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you've got WWE 2K19, Forza Horizon 4, Call of Duty Black Ops 3, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, which is actually coming out way earlier than it would normally do. You've got Battlefield 5. It's funny because at some point in time, you and I are going to talk about that week when Call of Duty Black Ops 4 and Battlefield 5 hit. They're both hitting on the same week, and they're both trying to avoid the impending rush that is known as Red Dead Redemption 2. But
isn't that funny too that we have such a rush of games before October?
Well, that's all to, like you said it best, I believe, about 3 or 4 or 5 episodes ago. I don't remember exactly when, but in the recent past, where you said they're all clearing out the way for Red Dead Redemption 2. The only major game that is coming out after it at that point in time in the near future after that game comes out is Fallout 76. That's the only one that's really coming out in November that's willing to go ahead in that traditional major time zone to actually take on that. But like I said, we'll delve more into that in the weeks to come. I know also as well we're going to be doing a fall video game preview, so we'll probably touch on that as well then in a lot more detail, because December there's some game releases as well that obviously will excite some gamers even further. But when it comes to Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I mentioned all those games just in brief. And like I said, I'm going to mention even more, and you're going to mention even more when it comes to our fall video game preview. And Shadow of the Tomb Raider could very easily get buried. And the only way I think that it's actually not going to get buried is if it gets a top score and it's considered one of the best games of the year. It has to have that kind of hit potential like the first one did, and even almost to the extent to what the second one did, because the second one was just about as good and thought of universally as the first one. So that's why both performed admirably. Although if you talk to Square Enix, they may not agree with you on how well it sold, even though they both have sold several million copies. It's, their expectations are maybe a lot higher than everyone else's were, but that's another story in and of itself. I'm just worried that Shadow of the Tomb Raider is going to get buried by all these games. I think it should have come out in either August or maybe pushed even further back, maybe into a spring 2019 release to stave off against all these other fierce challenges from all these other games that are coming out within a 4 to 6 week time period.
Yeah, I agree. I think from what I listening to podcasts, reading magazines, reading websites, whatever it is, I think, when you talk to when they interview developers and talk about as far as game release schedules, I think the big idea is to have something come out by the holidays. Like, that's the goal. That's always the goal, to have something come out by the holidays. That way they can catch all the sales of, holiday sales, what's the Amazon does the, not Black Friday, Cyber Mondays and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to be doing their gold box sales and the whole 9 yards. So people may even wait to buy Shadow of the Tomb Raider until that point in time, because they'll get it at a major break.
But from what I understand, after going through reading through Blood, Sweat, and Pixels by Jason Schreier of Kotaku, he's saying that in his experience, he's found that the most successful games are actually released in the spring because there's no pressure to outperform anybody else because it's kind of just an open time. And we see that too with like the Borderlands and things like that. Like those games have always been a lot of what 2K puts out has always come out in the spring, and they've always done, with the exception of Bulletstorm and Duke Nukem, of course, they've always done relatively well, like those types of games, because people just want something to break up the monotony of the back catalog, and I think spring is a safe time to release something. But for Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I see it from a point of view where there's not I don't want to say not a lot of people are going to play this game, but it's one of those things where it's like, if you have the urgency to play the game, I think you're more likely to play it than if it pops out in like the spring and you're in the middle of a back catalog. Are you going to stop playing whatever you're working on to go play Shadow of the Tomb Raider and then jump back into the game you play? So I kind of understand. If it comes out at the beginning of the gaming rush and like people are just looking for stuff to buy and play, I can see it having a better measure of success than kind of popping out in an odd time.
Just think, my friend, if it would have come out in the spring, how much more successful and how much more press and pub it would have gotten and attention it would have deserved, because it would have come out probably on a week or 2 week period where that was the only big game that was available to consumers. So I really think that was an error on Square Enix's part, that they have too much confidence or too much faith in the Tomb Raider franchise when it could easily get buried under the stress of and under the weight of all these other great games that are coming out around the same time as well. We've seen games that even have faltered, that if they can't, that have come out in the spring, that, like for instance, Mass Effect Andromeda, that came out on the first half of the year in 2017, and even though it was considered a critical and sales disappointment, do you realize it was still one of the top 10 best-selling video games of last year, even as a disappointing game in and of itself? So that tells you right there that being released in the first half of the year gets you a lot more attention, gets you a lot more notice, gets you a lot more acclaim, and gets you maybe a little bit more attention that you deserve. Because being released now next month, that's a daunting task. That's a daunting task for Lara Croft and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. What are your thoughts on Shadow of the Tomb Raider? Are you going to play it? Are you interested in it? Or are you done with the Tomb Raider franchise as of now? Share us your thoughts, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. Well, like I said, we've got a great episode coming up for today. We've got a lot of talk coming up from our good friend Rob McCallum in the middle of the Cosmic Crossfire. We've also got Sam Webb, the head of RPG development at Modifius Entertainment. He's going to be talking a lot about all the great games that they're coming up with and that they have already at Modifius Entertainment. Plus, Josh and I are going to be back in and out. We're going to be talking about all the great things that are going on that went on at the recent QuakeCon for Bethesda, and their controversial statements that they talked about crossplay when it comes to Sony as well. And one more thing, I also want to make sure and let everybody know that on the back end, Josh and I are going to be talking about the Battle Royale genre. There are some signs that people are getting a little bit over the latest fad in gaming. Is it on the way down? Is the ceiling sort of been reached on the Battle Royale genre? We'll be talking about that. And like we said, a whole lot more on today's program. This is the PCC Multiverse. Just to let you know, your sexy radio voice is not on.
Hold on. Is it really?
Yeah, you've been talking through your computer mic the whole time. I sent you a comment on there, but
oh, dude, my bad, man. Okay, hold on, let me.
That was the. I just want to let everybody know right there. This has been the Josh Peterson of the first 85 episodes that we had. So before he found
Hey,
his.
look, there's an air gap. That's what happened. See this?
Yeah.
That's a not plugged in mixer right here.
There you go. There you go. So technical errors there, but hey, it sounded good. Came through well. Just it's the style and the sound that you said you originally weren't happy with. So I remember him coming to me one day and saying, "You know what, Gerald? I'm just not happy with the way I sound. Let me go ahead and try something different." And that's when he found his sexy radio voice there.
How's this?
There you go. See, there you go. I notice how your voice goes lower as soon as you get to that, and how your voice is higher with the computer mic on.
Talk.
Talk, talk, talk. Talk, talk, talk.
Oh no. Oh no. Hold on 1 second. I'm losing you, man. Talk.
Talk, talk, talk. Talk, 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 talk.
Hey, there we go.
All right.
My
Can you
voice-
hear me?
Yeah, is my voice still sexy?
Apparently, yes. Yes, the ladies love it.
All right, good.
There you
Sound off in the chat. If you're a female, if you're a male too, we don't discriminate.
There you go. There you go. All right. To send us money. Anyways, all right, that's 1, 3. And we're back to close out the show. This is the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glassert, along with my good friend Josh Peterson. Remember, if you want to know a listing of what's going on with all of our great shows and all of our great programming, you just need to check out our Facebook page, Pop Culture Cosmos. You'll see a schedule right there because we're on radio 7 days a week and on over 30 different podcast networks. Just check us out. Remember, you can also subscribe to our podcast at any point in time on our Podbean channel, on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Anchor. We're on over 30 different podcast networks. You just need to
subscribe. WinMX, Napster, just all the usual places.
Exactly. Anywhere you can find Pop Culture Cosmos, you just go ahead and subscribe and you'll get the latest episodes right to you. Josh, you've got a great thing going on with Topicocalypse, my friend, for Humanica Media. So what's going on, man?
We actually just put out an episode on movie villains, and it's actually quite a good episode, if I do say so myself. I kind of hate most of what we record. So this one actually came out pretty good, and we're talking about movie villains. Brian Kane, PhD, has created a category or categorization, is that a word, for movie villains. So he has 4 or 5 different categories, and asks us to place villains in these categories. We get into conversations about the Joker and real life murderers and urban legends and Nazis and all that kind of stuff. So it's probably the most reminiscent of a true crime podcast that Topicocalypse has ever done. So feel free to download that today on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, and all the usual suspects.
And true crime is usually the way to go when it comes to the podcasting field. So how about True Crime Pop Culture Cosmos? There you go.
Would we talk about who murdered the trends in pop culture?
Oh my gosh. For most people, that would start and end with Disney and Lucasfilm, but we won't go there.
Dang. Hey, seriously, if you get a chance.
Or DC, Warner Brothers in DC as well.
Or DC. But if you guys get a chance, read Blood, Sweat, and Pixels by Jason Schreier, and they talk about how Star Wars 1313 got murdered, and that's an interesting story.
I bet it is. If you only could tell us as well, I know it came out after, I know it happened after the book came out and whatnot, about Amy Hennig and her Star Wars story as well, being axed by EA. I'd love to know the insight on that, being an Uncharted fan that I am. Being the Uncharted fan that I am. Now that Josh has a sexy voice back for radio and found that he actually has plugged in his microphone correctly, we can now go ahead and finish this episode on a high note in regard to the Battle Royale genre. And I know this must make you happy, my friend, because the success of Fortnite, and more power to Epic Games for being so huge, so big, so fast. PUBG being also very big, very, very wide, widely accepted by the worldwide audience, being everywhere on every different type of format for both those games, from mobile to any kind of platform that's out there. But there's been so many different suitors, so many different games that have tried to follow suit. I'm starting to hear a lot of backlash, my friend. In fact, I posted stories relating to certain franchises such as Call of Duty with their Black Ops 4 coming out that's going to have a battle royale genre right out of the box. And then also as well Battlefield 5, which in its latest video has all but said that they're going to be producing one. They've been tight-lipped at DICE Studios about it, but it looks like there's going to be a battle royale game on the way as well at some point in time, probably after the release of the actual game itself in October. This has caused a lot of fervor amongst fans that are just tired of the battle royale genre already. And this reminds me of what happened in 2008, 2009, when the Horde mode was going like crazy, and every single game had to have its own version of the Horde mode that was copied from probably the best version of it, and the most original version, which was the original version, which I believe was Gears of War 2. Everybody tried to follow suit. Everybody tried to have their own Horde mode, and it really got to be so much so that it burned the whole genre out. It looks like it's on the way to doing the same. Although Fortnite, we know, is still very, very popular at this point in time. But I ask you, my friend, are you seeing the signs from people? Are you seeing the signs of wear and tear and fatigue? Is the battle royale genre on its way out?
Doug, you know how I feel about the battle royale genre. So anytime I hear bad news about battle royale, and I'm just thinking, yes. No, it's weird. Have you had a chance to look at the latest issue of Game Informer?
No, I have not. I've just, like I said, I'm basing off this a lot of comments that have been made my way in regards to news items that I post in regards to these games. A lot of people are making comments of how sick and tired they are of the battle royale genre already.
Yeah, because everyone's kind of doing the same things over and over again. But it's interesting. Game Informer, they interviewed one of the big heads over at Ubisoft, and he was saying that they asked him about the battle royale genre, and they're saying, yeah, they're paying attention to it, but when they finally do something that's like battle royale, they don't. The fear at Ubisoft is that the battle royale genre is going to burn itself out, and when they finally have something that can they believe in enough, like the battle royale genre, they want it to be different. They want it to have like the whole concept of like an Assassin's Creed game. You can have, you have all these people on the what was it, Unity suffered from having too many people on the map, but it's a lot of games have processing issues when it comes to having like more than 50 players on the map at once. So they're saying that a lot of these big companies are not scared, but they're cautious about creating battle royale games because they don't want to just do it to fit the trend. They need to have the processing power, and they don't want to have like a day one patch that's like 20 gigabytes, and things like that. So there's companies. It sounds like a lot of companies are working on things that they want to be as popular as the battle royale genre, but they're not really looking into the battle royale genre itself. And I know that 343 was posed with the question of, hey, will the new Halo have a battle royale game type on it? And they're like, nope, we're focusing strictly on our traditional multiplayer and single player versions of the game. And good for them, because I honestly, like, if you were to ask me to forecast the success of the new Call of Duty, I'm pretty sure that's not going to be very successful.
Well, I will say that there is a trade-off when the more players you want on the battlefield, the more like we're talking about with NASCAR Heat, when we were doing a comparison to NASCAR Heat, and you set up to 40 cars on the track at the same point in time. There usually is a trade-off when it comes to graphics, look, the visual fidelity of the game, when it comes to the more players you want on the given map or the given battlefield, so to speak, pardon the pun. So I'm assuming if Battlefield and Call of Duty have a battle royale genre and they want 50 to 100 players like you see in PUBG and Fortnite, especially Fortnite, they're going to have to probably do a trade-off when it comes to the actual look of the game itself, because we all know Fortnite, it's not the greatest looking game, but it runs pretty good considering on the right, depending on the right system, because of the fact that it has a cartoonish look, I'm not going to say dumbed down look, but a watered down look, so it can support that many players.
Right, and I see what you're saying with something, because you hear about like EA's Frostbite engine, it suffers from enough issues as it is, just having a multiplayer mode or just having a single player campaign. So I don't see them really rushing resources into something like that to be able to you know, be able to tackle the battle royale genre. I don't see them putting a lot of time and effort, because I feel like that would take a lot of time, effort, resources, things that EA doesn't really have, or doesn't really have. Well, I'm sure they have it, but they don't just have the time, because they don't want to create another Battlefront. They don't want to like deal with all these issues that they've been dealing with in the past. So you know, it's with a buggy engine. Sorry about dogs are barking. With a buggy engine, you don't want to devote resources into something if you don't think it's going to pay off, and if you think it's going to take a long time to pay off. So it sounds like EA is obviously working on something, but I don't think it's going to be battle royale in the sense that we're seeing it in like PUBG or Fortnite. I think it's going to be something that, you know, is far more perfected. It might not even be a battle royale type thing, but it might be just as good. So we don't know. I think the battle royale trend is coming to an end, but we're going to be seeing something new on the horizon.
Oh yeah, we definitely will, because as you know, fads and choices and things change in the gaming industry so quick, but it won't come too soon for people, for longtime followers of Game Source and Pop Culture Cosmos. I know for Game Source, I often hear from Alexander Rapp, and you know, I tell you what, it's so funny. Well, like you said, Fortnite is still in beta technically, but it's made a gazillion dollars already, and Epic's really going to be able to live off the success of Fortnite right now for a long time to come. But like I was saying, Alexander Rapp, he's always very opinionated on our Game Source forum and the Game Source page on Facebook, and he just, you know, he and others have had truly enough of the battle royale genre and it coming to different platforms and different games that he likes to play, and all of a sudden he sees a battle royale mode, and it just turns him and other players off in the wrong direction. And like you, I see a scaling down at some point in time of the battle royale genre, and I think it will come sooner rather than later. What are your thoughts on the battle royale genre? Do you still like to play all those games in the field? Do you like to play Fortnite, PUBG, and all the other great games? Are you excited for battle royale to be coming to games and coming to series like Battlefield and also Call of Duty as well? Share us your thoughts, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. Also, share us your thoughts, Pop Culture Cosmos at yahoo.com, plus Game Source and plus Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. Well, before we head on out, I want to thank so much for the people that have given us 5-star reviews recently on our Pop Culture Cosmos channel on iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts. So Nicole REEG or Nicole X, Rigor, Shooting Breezes, Maynard Dixon have all given us 5-star reviews. We truly appreciate it. I really want to thank each and every one of you for your kind words. And if you decide to go ahead and give us a shout out or a 5-star review, we truly appreciate it, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Podchaser, or wherever you get your podcasts. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day. Want to forget one thing. Want to thank Rob McCallum for being in the middle of the Cosmic Crossfire, and of course Sam Webb, the head of RPG development at Modifius Entertainment, for taking the time for being on our broadcast today.